Welcome to Security Nation, the podcast that connects everyone in the electronic security and life safety industry. We bring on security pros to discuss the latest industry happenings, new technology, best practices, and work together with our peers to be the ever-present voice in an ever-changing industry. Today is a special episode where we will be interviewing Will Fleenor, president of Fleenor Security, and about the impact of Hurricane Helene and Milton that happened approximately 3 or so weeks ago. So thank you so much, Will, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah, for having me today. I'm excited to be here and talk about a very important situation.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. So I'm thinking just as we kind of get started, we'll go into kind of more details of the impact of the hurricane and everything. Maybe you can kind of walk us through where you're located, where some of your accounts are primarily located that were impacted by these hurricanes. Maybe kind of walk us through what kind of happened from your point of view.
Yeah, so like you said, about 3 weeks ago, Hurricane Helene moved through the area, and ordinarily, when a hurricane makes it up north this far, it's not much to talk about, but in this case, it's a little bit different. We're kind of nestled in Johnson City, which is tucked up into far east Tennessee. We have offices in Johnson City, Tennessee, and then Knoxville, Tennessee. The Johnson City offices were the ones that were more affected with our client base kind of centered around, tucked in here under the mountains of western North Carolina. And as you know, western North Carolina was really impacted a great deal from the rain and the weather and the flooding.
Gotcha. So let's see. Maybe you can give us like a brief overview of some of what your company experienced during and maybe directly after the storms. What was that kind of like?
Well, so it's interesting enough. On Friday afternoon, when the storms were rolling through, I was actually leaving a meeting in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, for the Tennessee Network of Security Integrators. And so we had our annual convention in Gatlinburg for the previous 2.5 days, and so we were all kind of worried, and we're starting to see the weather kick up and the storms, and we're tucked back in the mountains, not far from North Carolina in that area, and so we weren't seeing a whole lot other than just had been a lot of rain, and so as I get home, I get home around noon that day and come back, and now the reports are starting to come in of rivers rising, and anything coming off of the mountains of western North Carolina was just starting to get it was just starting to get scary. And then reports started coming in of the towns immediately surrounding us. So probably 4 or 5 miles away out of the Johnson City area, you started to see the floodwaters rise, and so you're getting pictures of bridges that were starting to be overtaken by water, and so the biggest areas that were impacted were in Tennessee were Unicoi County, which is Erwin, Tennessee, and you probably have seen photos and pictures and video of the hospital that was completely underwater, and it's a fairly new hospital, maybe 10 years old, but the people got stranded on the top of the building because the river rose so fast. That there was had to get Black Hawk helicopters to come in and remove people from the roof. But it was pretty terrifying, and it just came pretty violent. And then there was a plastics company that got hit pretty fast and lost several lives. All right beside the hospital, and that area was devastated. And Elizabeth in Tennessee was hit pretty hard. And then you move on down the road to Greenville, Tennessee, which is where the Nolichucky River runs. And so those floodwaters wiped out several bridges in that area, just completely isolating a lot of folks and stranding people in that area. So it was Friday afternoon. It got very exciting, and tensions, obviously rose because there's very few people in the company here that don't have somebody that's affected just due to where we live.
Right.
It was a crazy afternoon for sure, and very scary. Our claim to fame in this area has always been that we don't suffer from natural disasters in East Tennessee, and we very rarely ever even get a tornado in this area. So it was something that we haven't seen in a long time. This kind of flooding, I'd say, 75 years or so. So it was very unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just seems terrifying. I think all of us have probably been seeing some of the footage that you mentioned, the images, and there's nothing quite like Mother Nature, is one way to put it. But obviously, we're in the security industry.
Mhm.
Super. I mean, it's all about protecting life and property, and these are one of those events where it really makes it really clear the things that matter most and the things that are important to protect and preserve. But what have been some of the most significant challenges that you faced as a security integrator in the aftermath of all of these hurricanes? I mean, has it impacted anything having some of these roads and bridges overtaken? Um, what has it been like? What have you been hearing from your accounts? What has it been like with your staff?
Well, I'll tell you, it really started on Saturday morning, just the severity of the damage, and as reports started coming in early Saturday morning. So we came into the office here, and we have our own monitoring station here in Johnson City. And so obviously the operators were very, very busy that day. Um, we started to see just widespread power failures for the previous day, cell phone outages,
Yeah.
phone outages. It was very concerning, and so we sent out an email to the company early Saturday morning, just expressing their sympathy for those affected, and really just a rally for the troops to say, hey, how can we help as an organization to an area that's cared for us so much over the years, because we're 52 years old in the organization now, and so we've got a lot of history here, and to see our neighbors suffer and be impacted in such a way was really a call to action for our team. The first thing we wanted to do is check on our team to make sure, um, hey, do we have any team members that have been affected, lost houses, cars, lives, anything like that? So we started calling individuals that we know were in areas impacted and started checking on them, and really just trying to just check on our team first and say, all right, let's kind of triage this thing. Let's check on our team. All right, now that our team's safe, we know that everyone's safe. We got able to get a hold of most everybody, or through emergency contacts, confirm that everybody was okay. And that was our first priority, is just to check on everybody that we know and that we care for here. And then we just started to even Saturday, the day after, we started to have conversations with our team about how we can help and how we can help those affected. And we started to bring in supplies, and uh, this industry is just really amazing. On even starting on Friday, after I left the meeting in Gatlinburg that the TNSI had, our executive director called to make sure got home okay, because she knew coming this way they were going west to Nashville, but coming this way, had several companies reached out that day just to say, hey, did you get home okay? No, your area is starting to get impacted. And then on Saturday, heard from several other company owners, and from all the way up in Colorado, from Jordan Jackson and Security Central calling to check on us, and Duncan Hubbard and Stephen Wheeler and Wheeler from Home Security, all the way in Fayetteville. And they were seeing all this on the news, and they're like, hey, how can we rally to help you guys? And
Mm.
so even starting Saturday, Home Security uh, rented a 26-foot U-Haul, filled it full of I think 6 pallets full of water, because water just instantly flew off the shelves here Saturday, because everybody
Yeah.
needed just life-giving supplies. And so Holmes drove all the way, the interstates were out because we lost Interstate 26 between here and Asheville, which is how you normally get to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And so they had to drive all the way around, and made a long journey here, and showed up Monday morning with 6 pallets of water that we were able to distribute, along with all the donations from our team and the community. And it's really an awesome thing to see, is when people see something like this, they just jump to help. And we live in such a great community. This is, I hate to say it, we live in I don't hate to say it, I love to say it, best part of the U.S. we live in, because our community cares deeply, and it's just been amazing, the response from our community to how they're rallying around and helping people and getting all the supplies they need. It's truly amazing.
No, that's great to see it. And, that's part of the reason I wanted to do the podcast, is hear the best of the human spirit get brought out in these moments of catastrophe. Because too often when we're on the internet and scrolling through our phones and we're seeing the disasters, we're seeing the people stranded, and then we're also seeing some of the worst parts of human behavior, the looting that can ensue and the crime that can sometimes ensue, people, bad actors taking advantage of a horrible situation. And I think we want to hear something, there's also a lot of real good people out there, a lot of real good communities that have been affected and that are jumping in, standing strong together, and lending a helping hand when it matters most. And I'm also hoping that, with this podcast, we can kind of have a call to arms, so to speak, like, okay, members, we're a member of the Electronic Security Association. How can different members reach out and help, even if they are across the country? Are there different ways and avenues that they can help? Because it can be a little confusing to navigate which sources to go to where people can actually get supplies and get donations. I don't know if you have any insight there, since you're a little bit more boots on the ground, but any information that you feel might be helpful, feel free to send it here.
Absolutely, and there are tons of ways, and I would encourage people to investigate well. When they want to be generous and give and see how they can help. You want to make sure it is getting to the areas that you want it focused on, whether it's Eastern Tennessee or Western North Carolina. But there are great things like Samaritan's Purse. We actually went Saturday morning and ran insulin and different things up to Burnsville, North Carolina, which is over the mountain from us, and a really hard hit area all the way into Western North Carolina. And so Samaritan's Purse was there with their tractor trailer and teams of volunteers. It was just an amazing thing to see. So I'm a big fan of Samaritan's Purse, and I know the funds go directly to the area because they're from this area. They're based out of Western North Carolina, and so not only were they impacted, but they're the ones helping the community dig out. So pretty cool to see. Also, there's a ASP Home, Appalachia Service Project. And what they do is they build homes for those in need. And so they've got a goal to build 200 homes in this area. And so you can go to their website, asphome.org, and Samaritan's Purse is samaritanspurse.org. And then just some local boots on the ground type initiatives. A gentleman named Tyler Mackey, the local chair of our C12 business group, he just suddenly found a calling that he was kind of became the Facebook clearinghouse for resources and just rallied the city. And he is partnered with the tlccenter.org, and they are getting trailers and campers donated for people that have been displaced. And I think to this point they just started about a week and a half ago to try to get trailers donated and purchase trailers for people to live in the temporary. And so I think right now they've donated around 12 or 13 campers for people to live in, and people are just truly amazing that they will donate such a big item to help out. But
Yeah.
it's been it's just been an awesome thing to see the help that's given and the care that's given. And I think people are fired up right now to help, and so always we love to see funds come into those organizations, and even Bristol Motor Speedway. So we're kind of collectively called the Tri-Cities, Bristol,
Gotcha.
Kingsport, Johnson City, and as you probably, if you're a NASCAR fan, if you're not, there's the Bristol Motor Speedway. It's a big race track in Bristol, Tennessee, located about 20 miles from our office here, and they have become a staging area for water and supplies, and so you can probably look on their website. They're a major hub for. There's tractors and trailers coming in there all the time of just stuff to get out to people, whether it's medical, food, water, baby care. It's amazing. So that just to hit off on the high spots of some of the things I think people could do to help.
No, that's amazing. The different kind of generosity can be just amazing, baffling that people are willing to do when stuff like this happens. And this was like about 3 weeks ago. So have you noticed, like, from your perspective, like, what has the progress been on some of the cleanup or some of the infrastructure that was destroyed from this? Is it still pretty chaotic over there? Because from my perspective, I'm in California currently, and so you know how quick the news changes the topics and stuff. So suddenly, I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing anything about hurricanes anymore. I hope everything's getting better, but I have no idea. It's not showing up in my algorithm anymore. And people just move on to the next thing, which is unfortunate when there's real crisis still happening. So how have things been like now 3 weeks later? Do you feel like a lot of progress has been made, or still a lot to be done?
Oh, it's going to be several years of process to start to chip away at the damage done, and even the major interstate artery here called Interstate 26 that heads from Johnson City to Asheville, North Carolina, is both lanes were taken out completely. So gone. So they're estimating on this side probably close to a year before that interstate's reopened. But they are making ground. They are getting people dug out. I think the search and rescue stuff has kind of tapered off, and so now that everybody's been secured, it's interesting. This area we live in, the people are pretty ingenious with their methods to solve problems, and we're pretty resourceful up here in the mountains of East Tennessee. So you're seeing there's a lot of backhoes and there's a lot of tractors, bulldozers, and things, and so they're rallying, and just about everybody up here owns a chainsaw, and
nice.
So they're hard at it. They're digging everybody out and making bridges and using tractor trailer trailers for bridges, and you name it, it's happening here, and so we will recover, and we will rise up again in this area. So so thank you for asking.
But absolutely.
Again, we've had a ton of customers impacted by this, and I really want to start out by talking just about the area and how, and I appreciate you asking how people can help, because we will use it. Right now, everybody's excited about helping. Everybody wants to help. It's, like you said, the news cycle changes so rapidly. We had a couple good weeks of weather, and now it's gotten a little bit cold, and so you're in the 30s in the mountains now, and so this is when the real work begins, is when it's time to rebuild, and the newness is worn off, and the news cycle, like you said, has changed to something different.
Yeah, so keep that momentum going, so to speak.
Yeah. So how do we continue to help and support our community, especially through the winter? Because these winters can be pretty cold and rough, especially up in the hollers of the mountains where a lot of this impact has happened. So just hope people stay vigilant and stay tuned and just keep an eye on this, because I think it's going to be a long-term process. But moving to our customers, we've had a ton of customers impacted up in the areas. Obviously, systems can't communicate if they don't have cellular, they don't have phone, no power. So that's really been a strain on all our departments, really, primarily our service departments to run repair calls, and also our central station to monitor signals, because power's in and out all day long with all these areas, and so it's been quite interesting. But we have done well, and taken great care of our customers, and we continue to get calls of people who say, hey, my business was wiped out completely. Unfortunately, we've had a few of those, and so we're doing everything we can to partner with them and come up with custom solutions, to whether that's pause monitoring, terminate monitoring, get service repair technicians out. There's just so much that we don't really have a one size fits all solution, because it's just everybody's need is different. But things that we love to do, and one of our core values that we have here at the organization is to serve all with love and excellence. And buddy, we do it well.
Amazing. You kind of touched on a few points that I was hoping to get to, but maybe we can get down to some of the details a little bit more. So you mentioned some of the impact for your client side. Some of their whole systems were taken out, their whole businesses were taken out, the power outages and stuff like that. So from a security perspective, was there a certain type of damage that you saw more consistently across your accounts, or was it kind of different across the board? Was it really the power outages, or maybe how close in proximity they were to maybe some of the rivers that affected the kind of damage that was impacted on their physical or digital infrastructure?
Yeah, Hannah, that's a great question. It spans a gamut of issues, whether before the storm actually hit, we had probably a week and a half of just constant rain. And so the ground's
Mm-hmm.
very, very saturated. So you couple that with more rain and high winds from the Hurricane Helene, and trees were down everywhere. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just even close to me, a few hundred yards behind my house, 10, 15 trees just down. And so power lines, really the biggest, I think, effect for most of our customers are loss of power and cellular,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, traditional landlines. You really don't think that cell phones are going to go down. We just don't, as a nation,
Right.
like we just depend on the cell phone and think it's always going to be there. And it was a real eye opener to see communications just come to a halt in some of these areas. But
Yeah.
several businesses and homes, that anything that was located next to some of these rivers definitely got really affected, and sad to see. And it's going to be a long rebuilding process for those. And you mentioned looting. I think this area has been pretty good with people just being willing to help, and you just really haven't heard much of that, which
That's good.
to no end. And this is really what we do, whether it's getting donations and rallying donations for people or fixing their security systems. We are in the lifestyle business, and so those two things in my heart are coupled very tightly, and you can't really separate the two. So this is what we do: is we help our community, we help them stay safe, whether it's from an intruder, theft, or in the event of storms and things. That's just kind of what our industry does, and that's what we do. And we care about life, we care about people, we care about property, and those are things that are very important.
Yeah, that we do. And these moments remind us of all those things the most. So I think we're getting close to wrapping up. I can't believe we've already gotten kind of close to the time that we shoot for. It's just flown by. So I'm just going to kind of start moving us towards like a closing message, so to speak. So in your opinion, what are some lessons that other integrators and security professionals can learn from your experience during these hurricanes?
I would say have a fantastic disaster preparedness plan, disaster recovery plan for your businesses. Whether that's a security business or whether that's just any other organization out there, is have a robust disaster recovery plan. We just recently relocated to a new headquarters in Johnson City, and with our dual fuel generators and UPSs and backup systems, and we were fortunate that we didn't miss a beat, and so had we not been had a robust plan, it could have been a very different story. And so I just think I would have, if we'd had this podcast, or you asked me a question 4 or 5 weeks ago, I would have said not possible. A hurricane it'll break up by the time it gets up this way, and it's not possible that will affect us. But yet here we are. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say, again, stress a plan for disaster, because whether it's a hurricane, a tornado, a fire, a flood, those things are all real things that happen. The other thing I would say is don't try to go it alone. There are people who love to help, and they want to help, and they want to contribute. And if you are going through a natural disaster or emergency or a fire, flood, people want to help, and they will rally to help, especially in this industry. It's one thing I've always known is it's a very tight knit group, and people stay in this industry for careers, and they make careers, and they're here a long time, whether they're with a manufacturer or a distributor or a company like ours, putting in systems and installing dealers. So I would just say don't try to take it on yourself. Just try to ask for help. Don't be too proud. And as you know, John Loud's been on your program quite a bit, and in the essence of John Loud is find out what people are doing well, and R&D, rip off and duplicate.
Absolutely. Yes, the famous words of John Loud. Oh, well, I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to get this message out to our listeners. Hopefully they can feel encouraged and have some more insight on what actually it is like over there and everything that's going on. And maybe feel inspired to contribute a helping hand in any way that they are able to. I think we're at about time. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or finish to close this out?
I would just again remind everybody, this is a long-term process, and so don't forget about us in this area, and keep your eyes on us here, and just please continue to send your prayers this way. We could definitely use them. Been a lot of fantastic God stories in this area over the last 3 weeks, and again, just keep praying for us, and we will recover. And just thank you again, Hannah, for shedding light on this subject. So that way we don't forget about it.
Yeah, we're happy to. Like I said earlier, we want to keep the momentum going, with the short attention span that we've been developing over the years, and we're just moving on to the next news cycle. We need to remember that these, Rome wasn't built in a day, and these communities that were affected by these natural disasters, they are also not going to be rebuilt in a day. And so we need to keep that consistency, stand together, remember our brothers and sisters, that are across the nation, and help any way that we can. Because like you said, there's a reason that we work in this industry. We care about property. We care about people. We care about protecting life. And this is our moment to stand up and be like, hey, this is why we're here. So thank you again, Will. And I really appreciate the message that you shared with our listeners. So thank you for coming on the podcast. One thing that I will add is anyone who was listening who, Will mentioned a few different resources that they could look into. We also are willing to connect you with other fellow ESA members that were impacted. So please feel free to reach out to our membership team. membership@esaweb.org is the email address. And we will see how you can lend a hand and support those different recovery efforts. Every little bit helps as we work together to rebuild and protect these communities. And I know I've been talking now for quite a long time. So I guess we'll just close it out and have a great day, Security Pros.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Will. I think that was great.
Well, sorry, I probably focused too much on just the area, but I just feel like if we can bring awareness to this area.